abakhona baphilile. Yeah.
That's nice.
A beautiful conversation between two neighbors, yet the uniqueness of this conversation lies in the fact that Alex Msijana is unable to hear a sound from her counterpart. Alex became deaf at the age of 44.
Welcome to the show. This is Indeed Stories Untold. Thank you for watching. I am Pulem Molebati. Today we bring our show from the famous Vilakazi Street in Soweto. Why? Because our featured guest was raised right here. As a matter of fact, she's part of the big significant event that shaped our democracy. Today we focus in the work that she does in the deaf community and the impact that she's making in that particular community.
Ngimbonile eqala isikolo evele ecreche eqala isikolo ingumntana othanda isikolo kwa primary waya naku higher primary kwaNtsikana waya nase high school eLamula kuze aqhubeke aye e-university yaseDurban eWestville eBunzimeni.
From there, graduated, came back home and started my working career. And very, very lucrative career that I had. I was really moving and growing in my career immensely.
After graduating from the University of Natal, Alex worked for some of the most well-known companies and public sector departments in South Africa, steadily climbing the corporate ladder to become an assistant director.
I became ill. I contracted HIV in 1995. And I've been living with HIV since then. And then in 2007, I started getting extremely ill from HIV. And then they started putting me on ARVs.
Usikelelo waqala wegula. So umfana wami umkhulu imoto yakhe wayethatha umkhulu usikelelo amisa ku treatment. Wagula ngoba uNkulunkulu unamandla. Usikelelo wabuya eguleni kwakhe.
And soon thereafter, they thought I contracted TB and put me on TB medication. I wasn't getting better from the TB, and the doctors did more research and they found that I actually did not have TB, but something that had presented with similar symptoms. Thereafter again, then I contracted TB once again, now for real, and then went on again onto TB medication. And the side effects from that damaged both my auditory nerves. So they conducted audiology tests. I went in for some more tests and they came back to me and said, both your auditory nerves have been damaged and you now have bilateral hearing loss. And I went, huh? What do you mean? And the most disheartening thing about that was that this hearing loss came at a time when my health was improving from HIV and TB.
Unfortunately, Alex's health condition forced her to move back home, where she could get all the help she needed from her loved ones.
Family, friends, my friends from university came through for me in a big way. Supported me, making sure that my medical aid was paid. I was able to carry on with my treatment.
She basically could not take care of herself financially, and she also lost her job because of that. And with me having started working, I just had to take a backseat with what I needed to do with my life and just make sure that she gets all the medical attention that she needed. I would contribute towards her medical aid and towards groceries in the house, just to make sure that she's able to take her medication.
That was a very big support.
After what fate had thrown her way, she refused to give up. Alex learned to communicate by lip reading and using notes to convey messages between herself and her family. It seemed as if things were looking up until she was thrown another hurdle as she struggled to find employment with her new disability status.
I was now starting to say, okay, now I'm going to start looking for work once again so I can start now providing for my family. It had been a challenging time between 2005, 2007 up until 2010 when I was trying to find work and I couldn't. And when I finally submitted my CV at the National Institute for the Deaf, they saw the potential and the experience that I had from my previous job, and they were interested in meeting me.
Alex held on to the hope of recovering from her hearing loss, but she also had made the decision to fully embrace this new season ahead of her if recovery was not in the cards for her.
While I was doing research about deafness and all of that, I found that the audiology department at UKZN had done research where they were trying to assist people who had become deaf post-acquiring their speech to see how they can redress the hearing loss. So I went there to make an appointment so they can assess me and see how they can assist me. But then I was staying with friends in Durban. So after the meeting at the university, my friend and I were sitting and chatting, just talking about what are my plans, what do I think about my future, what do I want to do, and all of that. So casually we were talking and I discussed and I said to her, I would like to learn South African Sign Language so that I can be able to communicate, but the fees there, I can't afford. So it was just a casual chat. I left it there without thinking anything of it. And a few days later, Losh contacted me and said, Alex, I hope you don't mind, but I have been speaking to some of our comrades and I have informed them that you wish to study South African Sign Language, and so they've started collecting so that you can give you something to go and study. And I was like, Losh, how can you do this to me? This was just a casual chat between you and me, but that's how they came through for me, the profound way in which my friends supported me. So she told me, she asked for my banking details, and she deposited the money into my account. And so that's how I was first able to go and study and learn South African Sign Language, through that support that I received.
Welcome back to Stories Untold. Right now, we are at the premises of DEF, which stands for Deaf Empowerment Firm. We are relaying the story of its founder, Umam Alex. We get straight into this and more.
After securing employment, Alex had to deal with the difficulty of communicating with her hearing colleagues.
Alex and I met back in 2016. She was working for an institution called NID, National Institute for the Deaf. I was also doing a bit of freelance work for the same institution, and the institution asked me to take or transport Alex to the airport so that she can catch a flight to Cape Town. That's where the NID is based. So because I didn't know that Alex was deaf, and because she came into the vehicle and she just started talking. So, you know, I'm driving and I'm like facing forward. So I'm like responding to what she's saying, but then she's like, hey, by the way, I'm deaf. And I'm like, oh, sorry. You know, so I had to now obviously change my body language and change how I communicate with her so that we are able to understand each other.
Now in her new working space, Alex wanted to be the change she needed as a member of the deaf community.
NID asked me that given my HR background, can I assist them with their student placement program. So I took on that program and went around the country, different, all our provinces in the country, finding work placements for these young deaf students. And from there, my passion just grew when I was looking at these young people, seeing their dreams, seeing their vision, seeing their ambition and what they wanted to do with their lives and how they were striving so much to improve their own lives. I can't tell you how inspired I was. So I carried on that work for the NID, and then unfortunately their funding at that time was stopped, so they couldn't sustain the work placement program anymore. So it meant that now I was not going to be able to do this work anymore. But I sat and thought, no man, there's no way I can stop. The bug has bitten and I just really had to continue, find a way of continuing to support these young deaf people. That's when the vision for DF was born. And also another aspect that inspired DF establishment was that for the NID, because I was working for them, I was limited in that I was finding work for only NID students, because that is my responsibility within the organization. But I was working here from Soweto. They are based in Cape Town, but I was working here from Soweto. And now being in the community, a lot of young people in the community used to come to me and say, please also help me. I also need work, but I couldn't because now I was employed by the NID. But then when that unfortunate situation happened, that NID could not sustain my work anymore, then I also said, it sort of freed me to now say, now I can open my service to all that needed.
One morning she woke up saying to me, Mama, I think the ancestors are telling me to take a call that uzobasisango. Ndiyacabanga xa ikhuluma ngama-ancestors ndathi nkosi yami zawuthini le nto ifuna izinkomo nantoni yabona into enjalo. And ke mna njengomntu ohamba ngelayini yesonto yabona into enjalo, ndizoyithini le nto le, nkosi yami bazondisika ekaweni ibhizinesi zamathuwela yabona into enjalo. Andino umntana uthi khole ukuthi uzitshele ukuthi ngoku she will look after abantu abangezwa abangakhulumi.
For her vision to kick off, Alex needed to enlist her mother's help in a big way.
Wathi kumama ndicela ukhupha abantu bakho semarumini, ndiyayazi uba isalari yakho leya abantu basemarumini, ndicela nje lena ispace ndizoqala ndizobona uba ndinakuvula isikolo. Ndathi ungenamali, wathi I applied andifumani ma-response, but i-SAB Brewers indithembisile ukuthi izandipha intwanana ukuze ndikwazi nostart. Is then that she started ukuba makenze le nto yokuthi adile ngabantu abadeaf.
You must have brown sugar, no? Brown sugar is healthy. Oh, good, Mama. Small.
Her mom's back rooms and garage have now become Deaf Empowerment Firm offices. The organization offers services in skills development, employment equity solutions, and diversity training in the workplace.
Thank you, SABC. Welcome to DF.
I've been blessed with a wonderful staff component. My team and I relate to one another as family. We do so much work just for 4 people. Only 4 of us in the office as permanent staff. Then we have support staff from our interpreters that come in when we have programs that we are running, who also become part of our family for that duration. I've been blessed with people who have a passion for the work that I'm doing, people who understand the challenges that the community is facing, and they give so much of themselves. They go over and beyond the call of duty. So I'm blessed with a wonderful team who support me, encourage me. They tell me when I'm going astray. And we have a free, open relationship where we can talk to one another and support each other and coach each other and just make sure that we get on with the work of supporting the deaf community out there.
Now you have done away with cabling.
When we visited DEF, one of their skills development program classes was in progress.
I'm glad ukuthi sine interpreter namhlanje, and I'm glad ukuthi also ne facilitator yethu iyakhona uku-interacta nama students.
Now,
DF brought us here to develop ourselves. We've been studying from February, and we are studying IT development system. Why? Because we are inspired and we are encouraged to study as deaf people, and we want to achieve in our life. I'm very involved and I'm very happy. Why? Because we are going to achieve. We don't want to stay at home. No, we don't want to stay at home. We want to improve and we want our lives to be developed. So this project has helped us a lot. I'm studying IT, computer, and technology, and they are helping us to develop our lives, to improve our lives, and also to add technology will help me to achieve things in future, and I'm sure I will be able to get employed because I will know a lot about computer and technology. So I feel very inspired. And I want to achieve, and so I can start my own business and also help other people.
there are two houses with the same house number. I posed a question.
Welcome back to Stories Untold. Remember, we are on social media at Stories Untold TV. So do follow us and share those stories with us. Right now, though, we continue with the story of founder of DEF, Deaf Empowerment Firm, Alex. It is through her story that we learn about the plight of the deaf community.
In the 6 years that they have been in existence, DEF has placed people with deafness in the hospitality, transport and administration sectors, among many others.
I'm happy to report that about 60% of those learners from the program were absorbed into permanent employment. Some of them have been with the company up until now for the 5 years that they were placed with that company. It was a huge achievement for us, where we were proud to say that we managed to sit down with an employer, address their fears, because there's lots of fears from employers about bringing deaf people into their organizations. So we sat down, listened to the employers to say, what are your fears? Why are you not employing deaf people? They explained to us their fears, and we gave them in turn the tool to say, your fears are actually not valid. Your fears are just fear of the unknown. Give them information. This is how you can include deaf people in your workplace. And once we started talking to them, they were like, oh, okay, we really never thought of it that way. It really is doable. So these 4 companies that we work with initially were very, very open-minded. And we brought in our people. They saw them working, and they observed them, and they saw how committed they are. They are committed, they are loyal, also because the people know themselves how difficult it is to get into that job. So once they are in there, they are more prone to be committed and work hard to keep that job. So those are some of the positives. So with those employers, our learners went in there, they worked, they were absorbed, and now they have permanent work that they are sustainable in those companies. And that's one of the achievements that we can point to and say, wow, we really did make an impact there. the situation with the education of the deaf child in our country is still a very big challenging one. Their levels of matric that they get very poor because the education of the deaf child has not been prioritized in our country, in that we still find a situation where teachers in schools for the deaf don't know South African Sign Language. So a teacher stands in the classroom and they improvise. So the learner does not get the full understanding of the curriculum because they are not taught in their language. It's only now recently, since 2014, that sign language was approved to be an examinable language in the classroom for matrics. So up until then, it's been a very challenging situation where the learners leave school without a university entrance of a matric, or they don't have matric at all. We have all these wonderful policies and laws in our country, but we still find that deaf people are excluded. As I explained now, when young deaf people need to go into a work situation, challenges are many. So my message is that, especially to employers to start off, disability inclusion is not about meeting targets. It's not about complying with BEE. Disability inclusion is about creating an inclusive organization in the workplace, respecting diversity, accommodating people that you are not normally accustomed to, ensuring that your workplace and your employees understand diversity and respect people who are different from one another.
If abantu singakhona uku-understand ukuthi abantu abangezwa ngamadlebe as well, abantu nabo, if we can understand that, and if we can try to, sign language, it's funny, it's part of the official languages ezikhona la South Africa, but we tend to turn a blind eye onto it, and in most cases see ignorant, if I can use those words, kuyo. So if the employers out there and the Nabantu South Africa concentrate much into ukufundeni amanye ama-languages, then angeke sibe ne-gap esinayo between mhlambe abantu aba-disabled in terms of ngokungezwa and nabantu aba-abled in terms of ngendlela esicommunicate ngakhona. So if singavala leyo gap, thina abantu esingakhona ukubreacha the gap, if singavala leyo gap, ukuthi bathole umsebenzi, it's going to be pretty simple for them.
Alex continues to live her life to the fullest, embracing herself as a daughter, sister, friend, and a fully capable member of the society.
Ngabona ngendlela engimbona akhula ngakhona ukuthi uyabathanda abantu. uNkulunkulu umbekele lento ayenzayo namhlanje ukuthi awukakabi ukuthi uhambe, usalinde umsebenzi wakho omkhulu. Siyawubona singabomakhelwane, siyawubona singumndeni, umama wakhe esephila nami ngisaphila, siyayibona imisebenzi yakhe. Ngithi ngalawo magama ngiwakhulumile, ngithi ngathi uNkulunkulu anganceda usikelele ukuthi aye phambili ahambe abancede abantwana.
Sikelelwa ungene yona nto emhlabeni uNkulunkulu ebekuthumele yona. Don't despair, nyathela ntombazana, sebenza usasemncane ngoba kuzawufikelela isikhathi sokuba ube mdala ufanele nathi ungasakwazi ukuba usebenze. Sebenza ngentembeko, sebenza ngothando ebantwini babantu abaxakekileyo.
Another great, inspirational, and most importantly, informative story. Just how we like them right here on Stories Untold. That brings us to the close of our show today, but don't worry, we are back here, same time, same place. Goodbye.